You guys ready?
Yeah, we're ready. We're live.
You guys ready? We are live. Yeah. Well, welcome in, friendos. How are you doing today? It is July 21st.
Is it really July 21st?
It is really July 21st. Can you believe it?
July 21st.
Summer's just like flying by.
That's what the calendar says. So I believe it.
State Fair's right around the corner.
When does the state fair start?
10 days before Labor Day,
That's
right?
So it's not really right around the corner. It's like around two corners.
Couple weeks.
A few weeks.
That's kind of one of the things Minnesotans say, though.
It's like a month.
You know.
I bet you it's less than a month.
I don't want to bet. I'm not a betting man.
We have not been to the state
I
fair
just play
since
poker.
moving back to Minnesota.
Yeah, I'm not a big State Fair guy.
I
You're
like
not
it. It's
missing out on
fun.
much.
We just never wanted to go because the kids are just going to want to do the rides and stuff. I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to pay for the rides.
Last time we were there, Julie was pregnant with Josie.
Wow.
She's 11.
August 25th.
Oof.
Wow, less than a month.
No.
Took you a minute. Are we on?
We are on.
Okay.
We've been live for like
If we're going to promote
2
the State
minutes.
Fair, we better get sponsored by them.
Yeah.
Oh, hello from Texas. Oh, hey. Hey, my whole family's here.
Oh, wow.
Hey there.
2 sisters.
Say hi. Take
My
a moment,
wife.
Greg.
Hello, people.
Which one do you like better? Which sister?
Well, my underachieving younger sister is not on.
Oh.
Lori's not on. So Christy and Misty win the prize.
Wait, you can't pick two.
We got Christy and Misty, Greg and Lori, all of us with uncommon spellings. Thanks, Mom.
Well, if Christy or Misty want to
Yep.
send in some information about Greg that we could use on the podcast.
Oh, they
we'll take
would
that.
be happy to, I'm sure. I'll go ahead and close this. Oh.
Wait, we have closed captioning?
Yeah. Say
Yeah.
something. You'll see it show up.
I see that.
Is it on? It doesn't always. Live captions are on.
That's
Yeah, it's on.
amazing. AI is awesome.
Until it takes over.
Well, we got a couple different things we thought we'd talk about today on the show. We got some family business. So let's start with the first thing, which is really going to be obscure and maybe not a lot of things to talk about. But if you were with us maybe 2, 3, I don't know, it's been maybe 4 months ago when we did a little follow-up conversation about the Mars Hill podcast.
It's been that long?
I don't remember. It's been a while.
Been a while.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
More than a month.
More than a month, but we had talked about the Mars Hill podcast for a few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Just Greg and I just talking, referencing it. I think we put it in the chat a few times. But they came out with another one recently with a guy named Tim Keller.
The Protestant Pope.
Yep, the Protestant Pope, pastor of a
Retired.
Presbyterian church. He's retired, but he was pastor of a Presbyterian church for 20-some,
Yeah.
23 years
Right. Redeemer.
in New York.
Yeah.
But he's widely regarded as, I don't know what you say, a real specialist on church planting and church growth. And the Mars Hill people interviewed him in this one-off episode that I thought was pretty interesting. What do you think the theme, Greg, you hadn't finished, right? But you listened to it.
I had it on, but I was doing like a bunch of yard work, and I had the boys out there with me and stuff. So I was kind of like trying to listen, half listening.
Do you
in one
remember?
ear
Do you remember anything from it?
Yeah, I remember. I don't, not the exact phrasing, but he seemed like he talked a lot about like character versus, to generalize, like the importance of that versus like performance or talent and that sort of thing. So yeah, but I would say he knows something about church planting and church growth. He planted a church in New York City. It made it very successful, and in terms of like influential and not just. I mean, they're pretty authentic, and seems like he's a kind of a universally loved guy across denominations and such. So, but then also universally disliked. Like he said, he's
Well, that's everybody though, right? I mean, that's just the nature we live in.
Yeah, right.
I think what I like about him more is he just kind of has this. I think without arrogance, at least I don't get arrogance from him. He kind of has this, just this wisdom about him, like that he.
Yeah.
But he doesn't come across like a know-it-all.
Yeah.
And he
that's
seems. Even if you don't agree with everything he says or whatever, like there is a true kind of, I don't know, aura maybe about him. But it just kind of seems like he's thoughtful. Maybe that's a better way to put it. He seems very thoughtful without being a know-it-all. I like that.
Yeah, they were even talking about how the people that he was working with were concerned about his lack of dynamic leadership style. That he's more of this professorial type guy.
Yeah.
He always would wear a suit. That was the one thing he commented about his church, was that they weren't flashy. Nobody's wondering where the dancing bear's at or anything like that. Yeah. He's like, I wore a suit every week, and we did traditional music. Now, it's a church in New York, so you have to be a good musician.
Right.
So there's that. But he's like, we didn't have this big old show. It wasn't highly programmatic, nature. The church wasn't. He seemed a bit kind of pleasantly surprised about the effectiveness of that. Mm-hmm. But why do you think that would work? This kind of institutional, static, not static, I shouldn't say that, kind of gray paint on the wall model, where versus today's kind of popular model of all the lights and the smoke machines and the skits and the comedy and the entertainment with substance of good preaching and worship time. How do you think something like that can exist in a world today where the more dynamic one seems to be a bigger draw?
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think people are just drawn toward authenticity? Like the big show, the dynamic stage presence, all that stuff will attract a crowd and it might even appear successful for a time. But I think if people, I don't know, there's no shortage of phony and fake in our world, and I think people are just drawn toward authenticity. If they find someone who is authentic, and not just authentically bad, but you know what I mean? But like all the things Mike was saying to describe them, and I'm assuming those who serve around them are going to, take on some of the same type of things that people are drawn to that. They want something that's real. So I was having this conversation over text with a friend of mine the other night who was a worship leader at, big church. He's not there anymore, and he was saying he just grew tired of the big light, the big stage performance type stuff. He's like, I'm just tired of it. And he's a musician, so, he likes being up and he likes playing and all that stuff, but it just seemed like, at least in his context, it was just a show. It wasn't really it served no real purpose other than to be a show. And, the interesting thing to me is, I forgot what I was telling them, but to me that the advent, especially the last couple of years of some of this, like some of the bigger worship, some of the bigger churches and places that like Hillsong or Bethel that put out a lot of the music, it's like it's a show for church people. Like how many non-Christians are really drawn to that, coming to that? Maybe a lot, I don't know. But I think we fool ourselves if we think that's the...
You think they're just getting people from other churches?
Yeah.
Well, that was one of the comments that Keller's mentioned too. He's like, a lot of it is just church, you're stealing from other churches.
Just church.
But to push back on that a little bit, I have a few friends in the Twin City area that would have never stepped into our church, as cool, as awesome as I think Northridge is. But they were invited to go to, should I say a local big Eagle Brook?
Yeah.
and then they were completely astonished. Like, wow,
Yeah. No,
I didn't
should
know.
say I'm not saying that every church that has like great lighting, great music, and all that is phony. Not at all. I just think there is some of that. What do you point at?
Are we frozen?
No.
No, it's probably just.
We're not frozen.
You hit pause. No, we're good.
Okay. Do you think? Maybe I'm being naive about this because they're, and this isn't to speak poorly of Eagle Brook. I've never been to Eagle Brook, so I can't speak about them. But as far as
Sorry.
being, as far as like, do you think it's easier to be less showy and more kind of meat potatoes, kind of just consistent now than it was over the past 20 years, where that was the model? The model was, make it big, make it a show, draw people in, have a lot of programs, and now we're seeing the downside of that. And people who have gone through that have said, yeah, I've kind of gone down that road, and I'm not necessarily attracted to that anymore. Or am I just being naive, or is that just my experience that I'm projecting? And no, people still are very much drawn to that.
I don't know. I guess my initial response would be that there's so few of sample size.
Yeah,
Because
that's true.
The worship-tainment concept of church is maybe even short of 100 years compared to what it used to be. Really liturgical, methodical. And so there's not enough generations that have passed to really see if there's any sort of trends happening. We have basically one. We have one arc.
Right.
And maybe that's starting to fall off. Maybe it's skewed by, the metrics are skewed by something like the pandemic. Is it fair to incorporate that in any sort of assessment about the value or the effectiveness of a big kind of rock star type of a church? I don't know. So I think the sample size is both contaminated and too short to really understand if, because it seems like churches like Eagle Brook are still growing.
Yeah.
They're still planting new campuses, and whatever model that they're applying to these campuses, it seems like it's still working. Now, you've seen kind of the look and the feel change a little bit. Like even Eagle Brook, I've seen things look slightly different than they were 7 years ago.
Well, he retired. The lead pastor retired.
Yeah,
right?
Bob.
So naturally, there's going to be a little change.
But I also think just culturally, things evolve. You wouldn't want, like, that's my struggle with that room over there. Is like it looks primarily the same as it's been for several years. And
What are you talking about?
just the way the stage looks and all that kind of stuff.
Just
lighting.
painted in there like 2 months ago, dude.
Yeah, that's the
That room
It's
over
already
there.
outdated. 2 months old paint.
that's the most drastic change that
New
it's
carpet?
under. Yeah,
Sound like my wife. She likes to paint
right.
every other weekend.
I know what you mean. Just joking.
yeah, yeah. I just don't think.
I'll tell you, the guy who's playing the
enough
guitar
time
the last
passed.
10 years looks exactly the same.
Yeah,
Hasn't aged a
boring.
day.
Let's update that.
Hasn't aged a day.
Let's update
Not allowed.
That's not true.
Actually, he's aged 10 years.
I've aged exactly. Almost exactly 10 years.
It's gotten taller. I think that's about it. So.
Shorter.
He made that comment, though, because Andy, you said, go back, what'd you call worship-tainment?
I like
It's
that.
more of a modern thing.
Should write a book.
But he talked about the revival kind of thing, and that was so, not egocentric, what's the word? It was like based off of one guy, basically. Like the big dynamic preacher guy that would come into town, and that was, you could say that was kind of along the same vein. It's just you didn't have technology yet. You know, you didn't have lighting and plugged-in music and smoke machines and all that. So I don't know.
But I think, you know, the idea is that you're using the most current technology to your advantage. You know, you're leveraging that stuff for whatever.
Yeah, right. It's a tool.
Yeah. You know, like the Mars Hill thing being one of, was it the first person to ever put a sermon on audio on the internet? Yeah.
Wow.
So, I mean, I don't care if, personally, I think if a church has 20 people or a church has, 10,000, the biggest thing to me is like how active are the people in the congregation. How many people are going just because the worship leader's got a great voice, or I love the music. I mean, I guess that's a reason to go to the service. But are you part of the church? That's my question. Are you actively part of the local church? To me, that's the most important thing.
Do you think in some ways Keller was countercultural, though, in his, being in New York and being more of a traditional church outside? I mean, there are obviously some traditional churches, I'm sure, there's Catholic churches and traditional Lutheran churches in the area, but as far as a evangelical or even Presbyterian, Presbyterian evangelical church, like, was he so traditional that it was countercultural in a way?
I don't know, because
I don't know.
I mean, I've
don't know the
never
area.
lived in New York.
Yeah.
I've been there once or twice visiting, like Manhattan area. But what I see is countercultural, maybe, but not like intentionally, because I think it was more just who he was, like Greg was saying, authenticity. That's why I think Northridge has been so, I hate the word successful, but the longevity of Northridge here in Rogers, I think, is hugely due to who Ben is and his authenticity and his ability just to be himself and not bend to what he thinks people want him to be. He's just truly and honestly himself. I think, there's such a melting pot in New York of different groups of people, and it's hard to tell there's no dominant culture. And then there's millions of people. So you're going to get, if you're going to do any one thing, is probably you're going to get a pretty decent crowd that would fit within that one thing. It's probably why it makes, you think New York, that must be a hard place to plant a church. It's probably really easy because you have
in some ways,
so many people. I think planting a church in a small country town is probably going to be the most difficult thing.
You guys both said it. That's that word, authenticity. Because when I think of, I think of maybe on the other end of the spectrum, somebody like an Erwin McManus at Mosaic. I mean, that's who he is, right? And others have tried to kind of, copy that model.
Yeah.
And it's not who they are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And whether you like him or you want to pick another church, Bethlehem. I mean, that's who Piper was. And whether you like that or not, you're trying to be McManus or Piper or anybody, and that's not who you are. It won't last.
Yeah.
It just won't last. And I think we've all experienced that. People like that, where it's like they get up and they. I remember I went to a church here locally. We were just there. I was ministering at a church, but then we would attend a different church on a Saturday night just because. And one of the pastors there was clearly trying to be Rob Bell. And I was just like, just be you, man. Just be you.
Yeah.
Don't be Rob Bell.
Because that didn't last.
And it didn't last. And he didn't last. Well, he didn't last there. But it was like, Rob Bell is Rob Bell. Take him or leave him, right? This guy was trying to be somebody he wasn't. And it just, I don't know. Find your voice and be you.
Yeah. I mean, and we all go through that. We're influenced. There's a fine line between influence and authenticity, I think. Like, you're going to be influenced by someone. You learn to play guitar, you're probably influenced by bands you like at first, and you're going to play those songs, or you're going to a certain style. Same with preaching or
Yeah.
teaching or anything we do, we're influenced, but yeah, eventually you find your own voice and who you are, but the bigger thing is like the character, the authenticity of character and like who you are, to me. But
There was another thing on there that stuck out to me. Tim Keller said, mistaking gifts for grace.
yeah.
Remember that? What do you think meant by that? I mean, he said a lot of words after that, but
Was that the same? And
about
if it-
about 3/4 of the way through
okay,
the
because he
podcast.
said something at the end. I just make sure I wasn't getting that
What did he
confused.
throw? He threw in something at the end, like before I go, and then it was something like, "Whoa!"
It was super
That's like-
awesome.
that
it
should
was
be like a whole. I don't remember what it was.
It was like when you're close.
yeah,
It was something
Well,
like
he's talking about accountability. When your close
Yes.
friend dies, it's hard to go back out and get another one of those people. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, no, I think he was talking about like when you're far away, you don't see like the character.
Oh, okay.
And when you're close, to somebody, you see the character of them,
Yeah.
right? And so while people are drawing, they're drawing. These
Oh,
big
when you're far
crowds,
away, all you see is the gifts.
all you see is
Right.
the gifts. That's what it was.
Yep.
Yeah. When you're far away, all you see is the gifts. When you're close up, you see the character.
Or lack of.
Or, yeah. And it's like, whoa, that was like a really insightful gem.
yeah,
And it was like 90% into the podcast. Like you could have led with that one.
yeah.
But
That's-
what's your question again? I'm sorry.
Well, I was just bringing up that quote that he said, mistaking gifts for grace.
That's yeah.
He told a story about this guy who's having an affair, pastor who's having an affair.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he said, I don't think it was a short thing. He said, I think it happened over a long period of time because several weeks of him going in to prepare his message
Yeah.
and feeling like, really guilty about it. And then him just thinking, well, on such and such day, I'm going to call and stop this thing. And he said that was enough clearing of his conscience to finish writing his sermon and actually deliver it without this heavy weighing
Yeah.
guilt on him.
Yes.
He said something like, and then Monday he came to a conclusion, well, God's still using me or something
Right,
like that.
because
And
after the
just-
weekend, he's like, people were crying and people,
Right,
there's a
yeah.
huge emotional response to it. And then his assumption was because of that, God must be still. Well, and so then he'd kind of get put back in that cycle again and again and again. I mean, that
was mistaking the gifts for grace.
how so? Apply that phrase to
You can, so, I mean, I think maybe he used the gifts like we use spiritual gifts, and it kind of gets intertwined or mixed in with talent or abilities sometimes, right? And I think that's where, hey, you have the ability to still do this thing. Like a gifted communicator can get up and communicate. We've all seen
Yeah.
guys who are really, Rob Bell, or, really good and then take a turn, whether it's theologically or they're caught up in moral failure or whatever it is. But that has nothing to do with the growing in God's grace, or you're just using the gift or the talent that you've been given or born with still, and confusing that with that, the power that may be behind it, or that it can be used to, like how God could use it even more. Or, I don't know. I'm running out of words.
No, I tracked with you. I think you're 100% right. I think that is the differences between talents and gifts, right? And I think that really does speak to the undercurrent of Mars Hill. Was a lot of excuses were made, and I think what this podcast shed a light on was everyone's tendency to say, well, yeah, there might be some problems there, but they're preaching the gospel.
Yeah.
And that was kind of one of the major themes of this podcast, was like, but that in and of itself isn't enough. There has to be character behind it, because if there's not, then it just turns into talent, right?
But the hard thing too is, like, we heard testimony of like good ministry being done, like from Mark himself, like, helping people and
Right.
ministry. That's the confusing thing.
Well, I think you lump in some of the other stuff that you heard directly from Mark, and you almost have to, if you're going to take this stuff with a grain of salt, you almost have to take this other
Yeah.
stuff with a grain of
Yeah.
salt. Like, I read a book a day.
Right. Everyone thought that was.
And then all of his
ridiculous.
great stories about him ministering to this person and that person. How much of that do you?
But there are
even
people
his
that share.
call, even his
Yeah.
call.
Well, the people that share, I'm cool with that. But
That's
stuff
what I
that
mean.
came
We heard
directly from Mark,
testimony of
you become
Yeah.
skeptical of
Yeah.
anything that he says now. And man, it just personally working in a church for over 20 years, I would hate to become that kind of persona where people are always measuring and there's some calculus going on about whether or not what I'm saying is right or, beneficial or accurate or anything like that. Man, that would stink.
Yeah.
And I know it doesn't happen overnight, but it happens. I don't know what they say. It takes a lot to build trust, but you can lose it so easily.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. I think even to his story of God called me. I mean, his infamous story of I never went to seminary, never went to Bible school. I was never even a member of a church, and God called me to start a church with Grace, his wife Grace, and almost like he wore it like a badge of honor, like he bragged about it, and he would say that in front of people who did go through school or did maybe got their or have been doing ministry for years, almost like I don't know why you wasted your time doing all that stuff. Yeah. You just started a church like me, and I do then question like, okay, is that true? Is that exactly what happened? I mean, you can't help but question it and take it with a grain of salt. Like, did God really? Because sometimes God does do that, right? I mean, called John the Baptist. He called me, right? There's been prophets throughout. John the Baptist wasn't a trained rabbi, and so that does happen, and. Even that guy at New York, Brooklyn Tabernacle Choir.
Yeah. Cimbala?
Yeah, Jim Cimbala was never formally trained, right? And so it's not that you have to be, but so there's examples of both. But I do, to your point, I do question that now. I do wonder a little bit.
Well, that's kind of, you wear it like a badge of honor, but it's also, I don't know if he meant it this way. Well, a lot of what he did ended up being abusive, but it's kind of spiritually abusive to others that you're like, I got this anointing. God's called me. I didn't even have to go get education. Right. I didn't have to do that. I mean, he called me. I did. I'm just following what he tells me to do. Yeah. And now this is what he's telling me to do. And it, people just kind of fall in line because it's like, oh, wow, okay.
Right. How do you question
right.
that?
Yeah.
Especially when it's not blatantly like you can't chapter verse. Like, well, I don't. That, God's not.
That's hard.
Hard one. One of the very last things.
Sorry, I've been meaning to say a couple times. That's why I've had this conversation with a few people the last couple of years. Is we just gotta be careful of who, like celebrity pastors or people that you just know nationally that you don't know. Just be careful of the influence. Even authors. I mean, a guy like Tim Keller who's put out enough books, like you kind of know who he is after reading, but just be careful who you allow to influence you if you don't know them, as far as ministry and pastoral ministry, because there's a lot of guys out there that they're clearly gifted communicators, but the character might not be what you think it is, just from what you see or hear on the radio.
One thing I've never seen somebody do, except for Keller, and this isn't necessarily, I'm just saying I've never seen this, is he was in ministry for like 20 years before he wrote The Reason for God. That was his first book. And, and then it kind of took off, his writing and some of the, probably even, his notoriety took off after that. But it's usually the other way around. Like, I think he already had a big church. I think he already was, successful. I think especially within the Presbyterian denomination. And then the book kind of exposed, other people got to know who he was, right? People tend to kind of like, well, I've been doing ministry for 3 years and I'm an expert on youth ministry, so now I'm going to write a book. And then that kind of fuels you. Whereas I think he didn't need the books. He was already successful in his ministry.
Yeah.
Yeah, the desire for fame and notoriety, probably even more than money. it's a trap. But it's a hard thing. I don't know. I can get it, especially with being on the the artsy side of the church, and with the worship stuff and music, and I mean, I had dreams in my 20s of being in not necessarily a rock band, but writing worship music and doing that kind of thing. Going to concerts, seeing Crowder and how everybody responds to that stuff. And it's like, man, that'd be awesome. But it's easy to get sucked into something that's not. I'm not going to say some worshipful thing, because it doesn't always have to be like a pure worship thing. But the motivation for wanting to do it, as a Christian artist, I can't imagine the struggle that goes through even the best of them.
There was some shift. Maybe you'll know. Probably know better than me. You'll know. There was a shift in there in the 80s and 90s. Because remember, it used to be like Christian bands. You had your Newsboys. You had Petra. You had, DC Talk, right? And then it became worship bands.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Like,
it wasn't bands putting out songs. It was
yeah.
like songs. Now we're doing these songs in church. They're worship songs now. Are like,
right. Yeah, you weren't going to go sing. They don't serve breakfast in hell by the Newsboys on Sunday morning, right? But there was this move, and I don't know when it happened. But now it's like the most famous Christian bands per se are worship bands.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think you don't know, but it seems like some of the dying bands that had their time in the sun were like Michael W. Smith and Newsboys and some of the members of DC Talk that joined the Newsboys.
I was going to say, which Newsboys? There's been like 18 different iterations of that band.
And whatever. Newsboys gets credited for writing a lot, or for being the main person for the main group for a lot of worship songs, but they're not. They didn't. Today they hardly write their own music.
Yeah.
Really?
Michael W. Smith has a whole worship album that everybody thinks he wrote some of these songs, and he did not write these songs. And so I think I don't want to be mean or anything, but it seems like some of those at the end of their career artists. Maybe with some genuineness to it, they want to give their interpretation of a song. Like all I do on Sunday mornings is honestly, this is my interpretation of this worship song. I can't execute anything Elevation does or anything Hillsong does to the T.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so it's going to be an adaptation, and it's going to, sound like something that I would do.
It's like when Greg preaches, it's his interpretation of how Paul would do it.
Right.
Yeah, I see that.
Paul who?
Paul Reiser.
I don't.
So I think that's part of it is that, those bands that used to be, this is something that helps kind of either resuscitates their career or, keeps them on life support.
Yeah.
Whatever. And then the other thing is worship music in general in the 80s and the 90s wasn't anything special at all.
Yeah.
And then you had some small groups like Vineyard, Delirious out of England. Even a lot of people don't realize Delirious is one of the first groups to really do rock worship music. Vineyard wasn't doing like rock music. Hosanna or Maranatha, it was still churchy sounding. But Delirious was one of the early groups to really start doing something that is worship oriented, but still sounded like a concert.
Yeah.
And then you had all those groups, Hillsong and Bethel and Elevation. Those are all, 2000s and on. Passion was probably before Elevation and Bethel. Hillsong's been doing its thing for a while.
Yeah.
But I don't know, to me, Passion was one of the first group worship, like, coalitions, if you want to call it that, with, number of artists on their label. You know, Matt Redman, David Crowder,
Oh, wow.
Christy Knuckles,
I didn't know that.
Charlie Hall.
Well, didn't a lot of them come out of the same like church and like college in Texas or something?
Well, no,
Like,
some of them were a part of Baylor.
yeah,
Some of
Baylor.
them were.
They're at a church right there where
A lot of them,
Giglio
they were
was.
either from Atlanta, Georgia, or Texarkana, Texas.
Okay.
David
Baylor's in
Crowder was
Waco.
from Waco.
Is he?
Yeah, Baylor's in Waco.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but what they did is Chris Tomlin was like the prince of passion. If Louis
Wait,
Giglio
was there too?
yeah,
Louis
If
Giglio was
Louis
the
Giglio and Chris
pastor
Tomlin joined up
around it. Yeah.
really super early.
And Crowder was there too?
And then Crowder came along later.
Oh, my.
But it was
That's
Chris,
Atlanta, isn't
Louis
it?
Giglio and Chris Tomlin.
Now they're all in Atlanta.
Now, well, Louis Giglio has a
Yeah.
church in Atlanta called Passion City,
Okay.
which they planted probably 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of traveling around doing the Passion conferences, all this stuff, you know.
Wow.
But
That's
that
amazing.
Louis Giglio and Passion Ministries was probably the first really big, like, cohort of people.
Yeah.
And what I like about as I love all those guys. I've actually met a number of them. I hung out with Chris Tomlin and David Crowder. But what I like about something like Bethel and Hillsong and Elevation is they're less about the name. You know, it's about the big name, big group name, Hillsong, Elevation. But it's not like people are like dying to go see Joel Houston, you know, do a solo live concert.
Yeah.
You know, or who are the main people of Bethel? I don't know. Who are the main people of Elevation? Can you name any one of their
No.
Right. So that's kind of nice that there's no
I
like.
couldn't name any of those, like those three groups. They're all the same to me.
You couldn't
Okay,
differentiate
if you told me
any
a
of their
song, I couldn't
songs?
tell you which of the three
Yeah.
did it.
How about
I'm
Do
with-
It Again?
Well,
You know that song?
I do know. I
I know the song. I don't know who.
He knows
I
just
know
because
just 'cause we talked about it, but
Gyra.
That's a new
No.
one, right? Jehovah Jireh.
My
isn't
provider.
Brian one of the names of the guy from Bethel? Brian.
Brian Johnson.
Brian. Ooh,
Yeah.
look at that.
Yeah.
For 200.
There you
Yeah.
go. I would lose on worship band Jeopardy.
Are they still there? Is Brian still there? I mean,
Well, there's been a little bit of weirdness, just like
probably.
there has been with Hillsong, just like
Yeah.
there has been with a few other churches. I think
gotcha.
there's been some cover-up stuff. Oh,
This is going first
Yeah.
full circle.
yeah.
Where
So
we started.
Yeah, I know.
your
Character.
sister had some
Oh.
interesting.
Appealing to a younger audience seemed to be what drove the church to perform, and it morphed over time from worship to what appears as inauthentic performance. This inauthenticity, actual or perceived, has driven many away. We have lost our balance.
I think she's 100% right. We can tell where the brains went to the family.
Yeah.
So when you say we have lost our balance, Christy,
She's
do
the
you,
oldest.
Yeah.
do you think that in some economy, some of this appealing to the younger crowd with all the fancy lights and all the concerty type feel, there is room for that, you know, and but we still also need whatever would be the counterbalance to that. I don't know. Just be interested to hear your opinion.
She's on her way to Kenya.
She is.
Yeah.
She's on a plane right now.
No, but
Oh.
leaving. I don't think she's on a plane yet.
So
but
what
I
does
think
that
it's
have to
sort of
do?
a
If she
missions
just-
thing, so. No, but she goes to a really big church, so I would
Okay.
I would venture to say that she probably thinks there's room for that. Yes, but
Okay.
yeah.
Did you have another question?
Yeah, at the end of the podcast, he mentioned a book
Bible?
called Communion with God by Jim Elwin. Have either of you ever heard that or read it?
No, neither.
Isn't that one of the hobbits or something? No. Is it
That's Arwen.
Arwen?
Arwen.
Oh,
Yeah, my cousin named her daughter Arwen.
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. All right. Anything else about all that?
Well,
stuff?
the only thing
Yeah.
I will say about the podcast, and maybe this is just my impression, I don't know if anybody else had heard it or what you guys thought. It seemed to me one of the reasons they had Keller on was to kind of like explain yourself a little bit. Why didn't you call out?
Well, because they were claiming
it-
that he's the one who platformed
Platformed.
Yeah,
Mark
gave him a
Driscoll,
platform
which he
where
actually
cleared up. So no,
vehemently
actually,
said,
yeah.
"I didn't."
Did he
in
seem
fact,
defensive?
He did seem defensive, but
I
he
felt
goes.
Keller was a little
In
defensive.
actuality, him and Piper platformed us.
Which I
That's
thought
what he
was a
said.
little, like,
Yeah.
I think that was
Whatever.
a giant overstatement.
Yeah.
I felt like Keller was a little bit defensive. Like I think he could have just said, "Listen, we got hoodwinked like everybody else."
Yeah.
You know, and I just felt like he was like, "Well, not us."
Wasn't my fault.
Well, yeah.
Well, I was thinking this the
I
other
barely
day.
even met the guy. Like, come on.
It was a risk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're in risk assessment. I
Yeah.
don't know if that's completely what you do, but in insurance companies,
We don't know. We don't have a
some of
clue
it-
what
I'm
you
like,
do.
I'm like the Chandler Bing.
But you when it's so early back then, and there's so little model or example of any of this stuff, and you're just starting out, you have altruistic intentions to begin with. I think most people do. They just get hijacked by these other things, greed and power and money or whatever it is. But you're seeing you have a vision for something, and you know that you don't know yet or have yet what you need to get to that. And you come across this dynamic person, and you think, well, I've got to, put myself out there, or I got to take a risk to get to, what I feel like God is calling me to. How do you measure, and what kind of? I keep saying that I've been listening to Lex Fridman, so he keeps saying calculus. Well, how do you go through the calculus of assessing whether or not this is a good risk or a bad risk when it comes to like ministry stuff? Now you can do that financially when it comes to
Right.
Your commodities and your your belongings and stuff like that, or your work. But how do you do that in ministry? Like, how do I take the risk of putting somebody up there where that I might not know exactly where they're at or what they're going to do?
Right.
And how does Ben calculate that in terms of like, well, we're going to ask this person to preach?
And to be
Probably
fair,
does
early
that.
on with some of that, maybe they didn't really know so much of how he was behind closed doors,
Well-
with like leadership and how. I mean, he could have been, obviously. I don't think he ever walked into a room being the gentle, kind of quiet person. It seems like he wants to dominate, but
I say he was getting in fights when he was a kid.
Right.
yeah, but maybe it's like, okay, this dynamic, gifted guy. They didn't know maybe about some of the stuff behind closed doors with leadership, or maybe it wasn't even that bad at the time, because even a lot of people that were in church leadership with him,
Right.
didn't they insinuate that it kind of took a turn at some point where it
Yeah.
started getting really
I would
bad,
like to
so-
believe that at some point early on, Mark might actually have been a halfway
Yeah.
decent dude.
So a really close friend of mine actually did spend some time hanging out with him, and said he was like the nicest guy. He's like,
how long ago is this? Years ago?
This was probably right before the collapse.
Oh, okay.
So it was like, yeah, this would have been, let me think, it probably would have been about 2009 or
I
something.
mean, he'd have to be some of that,
He said it was cool, down to earth,
right?
really.
He can't be
cool with
just a
everybody
complete
that he was
Hitler.
around.
No, I mean, I don't think things would have
Right.
gotten that far. Otherwise, you can just accuse the culture for being completely tone deaf and idiotic
Yeah,
for going along with something like that. Then everybody else is indicted for
Right.
being completely stupid to follow this horrible, terrible, or a mix of those
What was
two.
it? How would you mix
It's
those two?
horrible.
It's horrible.
You know what I
Horrible,
mean?
terrible.
So he has to have some like
Horrible.
Redeemable qualities.
redeeming qualities.
Sounds like
So-
a word George W. Bush would say. Horrible. It's horrible. His little chuckle thing. It's horrible.
Fool me once. I'm not going to get fooled again.
I miss that guy because he was just so
was so
funny. And
funny.
he could laugh at himself.
He just
too.
kind of like,
I got it wrong.
okay,
Yeah.
if we're going there, maybe we shouldn't go there. But have you seen this? Like, apparently there's a trend at the crosswalk in Delaware where Biden fell off his bike for people to go pose on the ground, like
Oh, really?
on their bike. Yeah,
So can I defend Biden for a sec?
I don't. Yeah, go ahead.
The guy's like what? 80?
We got about
Yeah.
1 second worth of material to defend him.
He's probably what,
Ooh.
80? He's 80 years old. And
Is
he's
he?
not- and
I don't think he's that
know,
old, is he?
something like that. And he was biking with his feet clipped in.
Yeah, he was. That's the thing. He was clipped
Like,
in. Yeah. And if you
listen,
don't do that
I'm
all the
biking when
time,
I'm 80,
right. Yeah,
we're gonna call that a victory. So
yeah.
I give him credit for that.
No, I get it. It's just still funny.
It is
I just
funny.
think
It's
it's funny
always
that
funny to
that's
watch
become
people-
a trend of
listen,
people doing.
Yeah,
See-
it's always funny to see people get hurt.
Joe Biden test positive for COVID.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
it's probably not good.
Slapstick humor. I mean, the whole thing with Kramer. Why was he funny? Because of the physical humor, right? He was always falling down, hitting his head. Right?
I mean, some people thought he's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah,
People who love Jesus thought he was funny.
yeah.
So,
The first time watching that show, it's all
Yeah.
about Kramer. He's funny, but then the more you watch it, you realize George is
Oh
just
yeah, George. Yeah.
the greatest character in history of television. George, Homer Simpson. Who else?
who's your Mount Rushmore TV
who's on
characters?
on Mount Rushmore
Put
of
together,
TV characters?
think about it. Who's your
George
Mount Rushmore?
Costanza, Homer Simpson. I don't know. I just need two.
It'd be
No,
Ed O'Neill, married
I
with
don't
children.
know. I wasn't allowed. We weren't really allowed to watch that.
Sam
My mom
Malone.
was watching. So I
Sam
can't-
Malone.
Yeah. Ooh, Sam Malone, good. Or some of the. I feel like maybe even Cliff Clavin or Norm. They're like the bit characters in that show, but
I work with a Cliff Clavin.
right. See, it's
Yeah.
everyone knows. Oh, he's like Cliff Clavin.
Yeah.
You know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yep. We got a Norm up at the cigar shop.
Yeah.
Do you?
His name is Chuck.
He walks in. Everyone says Chuck.
Chuck.
Yep.
And he does some little comment.
What's going
What?
on?
Yeah.
What's going on?
That's his thing. It's what?
What's going on, Chuck? Let's talk about what's going in, Chuck.
Yeah. I don't know. Mount Rushmore, maybe just the four characters from Seinfeld. How about that?
Yeah, I think I'm going to pick up that book. Communion
Yeah,
with
sorry,
God.
you started talking about the book.
No,
and
that's
it cut
okay.
me off.
I think I'm gonna check it out because I'm not a huge reader, but
Buy me a copy. I'll pay you back.
John Elwyn, Communion with God. He
Yeah.
said skip over all the Song of Psalm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I heard.
He said don't bother with
Don't
that
bother,
stuff.
okay.
But he said everything else. He said he just got done reading it.
Again, he said, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
again. So I'm interested. I'll get a couple copies.
All right.
I'll get each of us a copy and we'll read it. And if you all want to do the same thing, you should do that and let us know
We could talk about it.
what you think. Anything else? We can hang on to this other thing. I had this other topic of resentment.
Let's hang on to that one.
We can hang on to that later.
Hang on to the
I'd
resentment.
like to hang
Yeah.
on to some resentment for
Yeah,
longer
hang
than
on.
that.
Sounds like you're not happy about hanging on to this. Who's on your Mount Rushmore? TV
Oh.
characters. It's hard now. I can't even think of it.
I know.
Others.
I know.
Archie Bunker.
Dr. Cox from Scrubs.
Ooh,
That's good.
I don't know he's Mount
a good
Rushmore
one.
worthy, but he's good. That's
Yeah.
a good character.
yeah, he's got some good lines.
Yeah.
I used to be Bill Cosby.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Maybe not the person off camera.
Yeah. Hey, that kind of fits
The
perfectly with this.
Mr. Huxtable,
There
not
you
Bill
go.
Cosby.
Mr. Huxtable. The
Just
character,
kidding.
yeah, not the person.
I don't know.
Bill Cosby's stand-up, though, is hilarious, too, back in the day.
Dropping the.
He talks about, I can't say it on our podcast because it's not appropriate, but
I don't know. He was
Or-
pretty clean. He would give
yeah, but the name, his day, he thought it,
Chappelle crap for swearing all the time.
Yeah. Oh, Eddie Murphy.
Oh, did you hear about last night?
Yeah. First Avenue. That's why I texted. this
Oh,
morning.
okay.
Dave
Yeah.
Chappelle.
Did
They
because
canceled his show or they rebooked
they
it at the
they
varsity.
rebooked it at the
Do
varsity?
they own the varsity, too?
No.
No,
Oh.
they were able to shop it out, I guess. So
So they do the did you do this day? Go with that.
no,
My
I think the
goodness.
2 shows they canceled and rebooked
Okay.
somewhere
It-
else.
My cousins, both of them, liked the post where it says show moved to the varsity, and it said it's happening now. So
Oh.
I didn't know if they just kind of, migrated
They all
everybody
just
over to
walked
the varsity.
I don't know where the varsity is.
Yeah. If you had a ticket to, first, it doesn't surprise me that first day. I like it. It didn't seem like a great venue. Everybody's gonna be standing.
I thought it was weird for a comedy show. Yeah, because it's.
I mean, you're going to
standing.
get like 40 minutes, and then that's going to be it. Is that worth it? Like $180 that you're paying to go see Dave Chappelle?
No.
I don't know. Maybe.
No grace.
Would you? What?
There's no grace, right? Just you must be removed from society if I disagree with you.
Yeah.
He's got a star on their wall too. That's what's funny.
Whether,
You know how they have all
On
the
the first
stars on
app?
the outside of the building? He's on one of them.
whether I agree with you or not, you can't be
Right.
in my presence. That's just so. I don't know. Don't don't go see him if you don't. I don't like the whole cancel on either side. I just have a hard time with it.
Yeah.
Let people exist.
And make your choices accordingly. So,
Maybe we should cancel Andy.
no.
Please.
Well, we
Please
can do that.
do.
Please, someone please cancel me.
Do that Monday. We
What should I say?
Andy and I are teaming up this weekend. We're talking about Jehovah Jireh this weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's gonna be
cancel both of you.
be good. Well,
Yeah.
we'll see how it goes.
Check.
Genesis 22, man, this really should be like this. It's the story of testing of Abraham and Isaac.
Yep. Is that the first time that he says Jehovah? Jireh?
Yeah.
Jireh? Yeah.
And-
Jireh doesn't mean provider. The word. You haven't done a word study on this?
What does it mean?
I forgot. Brax told us yesterday. He said he just read see to it. Because he says God will see to it, right? I'm like, so like see to something, making sure something happens, like provide, like to provide it.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
So, I mean, it's the meaning. It's not
Right.
the technical.
Right. I
Maybe
mean,
it's like-
you drill down. How
Yeah.
far do you want to drill down? Right.
Right.
I don't know. Whatever it is, Mike's going to
Yeah.
tell us
You know what,
he
Mike? You
thinks.
drill far enough, you're going to strike oil, my friend.
That's right. That's right.
But too bad oil's
see it.
being canceled.
I know.
Oil's being canceled? Yeah.
Drill down. Soon it'll be drill down far enough, and you'll find electricity.
Find cobalt and whatever else.
Cobalt. Yeah.
I was listening to Rogan the other day, and they were talking about some guy who had invented a hydro power car
See, I've
that
been
he
saying
ended
that
up
for years.
poisoned and died.
Oh,
Oh.
good
Yeah.
thing I didn't invent that. I always thought we should invent something that runs on sand.
Yeah.
There's a lot of sand.
There is a
I
lot
mean,
of sand.
you clean up the deserts.
I
right?
can't figure out why we can't figure out a way to get the salt out of the ocean. So
We
we can.
can.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
have that.
they have desalination.
Desalination.
Yeah, but not at a
plants.
commercial.
Because they don't want you to have that, man. They want you to.
You know what? I would guarantee, not guarantee. I
California
would.
could use it.
I would guess that there is almost every solution to every problem around,
Yeah.
but some things are being suppressed because of money.
Well,
There are
That's a
better
good guess.
options for almost everything right now available. The technology's there. It's already been invented. It's just some things are being, suppressed because of financial means.
How long before Elon merges Tesla and SpaceX and makes rocket cars?
Automated rocket
Yeah.
cars.
How long before that happens?
I think
9 years.
I think
No years?
I think he
9.
merges the Boring Company.
Oh,
and
does that
Tesla
count
first.
with the one that he launched into space?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Does that count?
Yeah. No, that came out of a rocket, right?
that's true.
Did you hear something blew up on the moon or something? Did you hear that?
No. It blew up on.
It was
the-
a rocket that landed.
Yeah, but no one's claimed.
Yeah.
No one knows where it's from, or
Yeah.
no one's claiming.
It was
claiming it.
A rocket
Oh.
crashed landed on the moon.
Yeah.
And no nations are claiming that it was theirs.
Yeah.
Huh.
So it's probably China's.
Well, maybe it was somebody from a different atmosphere, different
Could
solar
be.
system.
That's what I was thinking.
Atmosphere.
Yeah, atmosphere.
Different hemisphere. It was somebody
We're
from the-
scientists.
It was somebody from the southern hemisphere. Those, we don't, I don't know if those people.
Antarcticans.
I don't know if
Those
those people actually
Antarcticans.
exist, but I've heard.
Yeah.
I've heard
Those
there's people on the southern hemisphere.
Yetis down in. Is there a city in Antarctica?
No.
There's no. We should go incorporate a town down there. There's no. It's just Antarctica is this huge
Well, yeah,
mass of no cities.
Right. It's hard to grow things there.
So is there no tax there?
Probably. Yeah.
Is there hard? Is
Are
it
there
hard
any
to grow?
rules?
We've
Any
devolved.
laws?
We've devolved. Who owns
just
it?
a lawless land. Antarctica.
And 5 other things that don't exist there.
Cities?
Antarctica cities. No cities. The countries of Antarctica. There are no cities. What need of countries?
Is there a Mount Rushmore?
There's no capital.
Who's on your 4? Who's your 4?
For TV?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd have
I'd
to
have to
really
think
think
of
about
four.
it. Yeah,
Just great characters. And my mind immediately goes to like sitcoms or,
Right.
but I'm sure drama shows, there's great.
what about like Keith Sutherland in 24?
I never got into 24.
I like that. Well, I can't remember what his name was now. I should
Jack
remember.
something?
Oh, yeah, Jack Bauer.
Yeah.
Jack
I
Bauer.
was getting there.
That's a good character.
Okay. What else?
Andy's.
What
It's
are
not my
good-
favorite. When are we
No,
going to
no.
start? It's not my favorite podcast.
It's not my favorite podcast.
It's not my favorite podcast. So Andy can really.
There were some great iconic characters. I could. You can make an argument that Cliff Clavin is the most iconic character from Cheers, and he's a bit part,
Yeah.
but he's the most. It's like
Does it include like streaming TV shows, like for the newer century?
Sure.
What about like Walter White?
who's that?
Breaking Bad.
Oh yeah,
Breaking
Breaking
Bad.
Bad. See, I never watched that either.
Yeah, that's
Because everyone told me I have to.
a popular one.
I never told you
Someday.
you had to.
Jordan and I started to watch after it was already done. We started watching it, and was it the first episode? I think where it's like, I don't know if we should even talk about it, but they were trying to get rid of a body using acid, and upstairs
Yep.
where it
That's where
just
the
like
bathtub
falls
falls
through
through
the
the
yeah.
floor.
And Jordan was like, "Yeah, I'm out." I was like, "Okay." So I turned the Dodger game on or something.
And then she really left.
Yeah, no.
Then she left.
Um,
I don't
Did
know.
you?
I don't
Do you have
watch TV.
Amazon Prime?
Yeah.
Have you watched the Terminalist?
No.
The new, it's got Andy Dwyer. Andy Dwyer, how about that for? No, Michael Scott. Mike Scott.
Oh yeah, that's one.
Come on, man. Mount Rushmore.
Okay.
The Terminalist. It's a book by what's that guy's name? Jack Carr. Jack Carr.
I don't know. I just watched the movie.
He's
Or
a
the TV
former
show.
Navy SEAL, but author and like. Anyway, it's one of his novels, and the show's based off it with Chris Pratt, and directed by Antoine Fuqua, who's like movie director previously, like Training Day and
Okay.
some good movies. It's good. It gets a little dark, but it's like an
What's it called?
revenge story. The Terminalist.
Terminal. Okay. No.
Yep.
Haven't watched that one.
Take some turns. I just finished it last night. Take some turns,
All right.
but it was good.
Yeah.
Get church news or
I was kind of mad at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, spoiler alert, everyone. So what happens is,
Don't spoil it for him.
no, don't watch it with the kids.
Yeah, don't watch it with the kids. Don't spoil it.
we're watching The Chosen with the kids right
Yeah.
now. I'm telling you, man, that is really well done.
It is. It's good.
It is. It's man. They did a good
Jesus.
job.
How about Jesus for the Mount
Jesus,
Rushmore of
Jesus.
TV characters
He's
based
right
off
up
The
there.
Chosen?
Right there.
Yeah. No, it's great.
Beavis and Butthead, anybody?
Yeah. It's good.
Yeah. Kenny from South Park.
Yeah.
I never watched South Park, but I know he was famous.
I watched it early on. Does he still
Doesn't
die
that take place in?
every episode?
Wait, where? Oh no, is
Colorado.
that Chicago?
South Park, Colorado.
It's Colorado.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. You should know that.
I think it was Chicago.
No. South Park?
Yeah.
It's Colorado.
All right.
They're always like in the mountains and stuff, right? It's snowing all the time.
I've never heard of South Park, Colorado.
I don't think it's a real town,
It's
Oh.
fictional. Yeah.
but they're supposed to be in Colorado.
Okay.
Yeah, I would go. Lori said, "Don't spoil it."
Oh.
I would go with a bunch of.
Yeah. Hey, my other sister. So I had all three of my sisters, my wife, and my mom. All.
That's great.
All the women in your life.
Yeah. Because Mike's back. They want to hear Mike's
Yeah,
voice.
right.
It's his soothing tones.
Did they listen to you preach?
Yeah, they're the only ones that comment on their. Yeah. I don't know if they listen, but they say nice words.
Are any of them cat? Are any of them cat people?
They,
Well, that was my favorite part. As
have
useless
cats.
as cats.
Now that you've driven all the Karens and Chads out of our church, we're going to need to get more people.
yeah.
Did you see Karen Enberg over there?
Yeah,
Oh,
she
that
was waving.
hilarious.
I was like,
She-
oh man, see, there's another Karen. That's awesome.
She's like the nicest
She's
person
super
ever.
nice. See, every Karen I know is really nice.
Yeah.
I don't know. Bert Anderson texted me an article. Actually, I need to finish it, but it was kind of like the advent of Karen, like where it came from. You know what's hilarious is every time, if you Google like, what is a Karen or where does Karen come from or whatever, the image they always use is that lady, John and Kate plus 8.
Oh.
You know that the reality show, the lady that had like the 8.
Her name was Karen?
No, it's Kate. It's not even. She's not even Karen, but they always use her because she has the haircut, the hairstyle that is like. And I don't know, but they always use.
I always
see her face, and it's just kind of funny.
I always understood it. Yeah, it's funny. I always understood it, like you said, like somebody that's going to call, like tell on you, like you know.
I want to
call the
speak to
manager.
Speak to the manager.
Yeah, speak to the
That's-
manager. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah. And
Except-
Chad, so my kids are the ones that told me that Chad is like the male Karen.
I didn't know that.
Someone caught me after church, like a high school kid, and was like, actually, Chad, that's not a Chad. A Chad is like someone who's cool and everything. But this article that Bert sent me claims that Chad is like the male Karen. So,
I don't
anyway.
I know a few Chads.
Yeah.
They're not my favorite.
They're not your favorite. No one. Who is your favorite? You can't even name your favorite TV characters.
There's so many. I watched in so
You
many
have no
shows.
Andy has zero favorites of anything.
Well, when everybody says, "What's your favorite movie?" or "What's your favorite show?"
Well, I
dude,
know
there's
it's
like
hard.
I-
That's why I said 4. Give your Mount Rushmore.
Kind of have an opposite position.
I said 2. I said Beavis and Butthead.
Beavis and Butthead
Yeah.
are your half of your Mount
Yeah,
Rushmore.
Kermit the Frog. I'm gonna put all like.
Oh, the
made
2
up-
grumpy guys from the
Yeah,
Muppets.
still perfect. I love those guys.
No one
They're
knows their names,
hilarious.
right?
Oscar the
No,
Grouch.
there's names for them.
I know,
can't
but
remember.
do you know it? No
I
one knows.
remember looking
the
it up at
names.
one point.
I
I
think
don't
we
know
did
what
on
it
here
is.
one time. Yeah. They're funny.
All right, I got to head back to the rock.
No, Snuffleupagus. That's who I would.
Oh,
Yeah,
he's-
'cause
it
big-
seems like he's on
big bird?
psilocybin mushrooms or something.
Yeah.
It's-
Yeah.
yeah.
Does he sleep all the time?
Isn't that all of Sesame Street?
I mean, they disappear behind a tree. Do they still do that?
Do they? Or is that the
In the
Care Bears?
beginning. In the
Was it Care
beginning.
Bears?
They all run behind the tree and
I never
disappear?
watched Sesame Street.
You weren't allowed to?
No, I just never did.
Oh.
I don't know.
Did you watch Mr. Rogers?
Yeah. More as like a teenager and adult than as a kid.
Do you ever see the movie?
No, but I've
with
heard
Tom
that's really
Hanks.
good.
Did you ever see the documentary?
No.
Documentary's good.
Documentary is really good.
Fred Rogers is a strong Christian guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Reverend.
the movie was good, but it was more
Kinda
like the Tom
weird.
Hanks show.
Yeah, and it almost
Yeah.
had like a
Had
dark
kind of a
feel
weird,
to
yeah.
It was strange. I was a little disappointed.
Whereas the documentary was more just this is who this guy was, and
Yeah,
it was
seemed like just a
very
phenomenal
endearing.
guy.
Yeah. Seemed like a gentleman.
All right, Mike.
All right. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for the pizza.
Yeah.
I'll
I'd,
vend-
I'd promote the place, but I don't want to because
Yeah, why not? Well, this
Yeah, we should promote.
this episode has been brought to you by
DiMaggio's.
Mike Stella, who stopped by DiMaggio's Pizza down the street there and brought us a slice.
Yeah.
They sell pizza by the slice during the lunch. I don't
we
know,
had Steve's
11 to 3.
special. Make sure you ask for
Steve's-
Steve when you go in there.
Yeah, the Steve's special. It's good.
It was good. It was very good. 3 pieces for under $5.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a
It's
deal.
like
Where can you get that?
$1.50 a slice. It's good. It's
Yeah.
good pizza. So
All right.
It's really good.
We'll
yeah.
see you.
I had pizza for my last 2 meals.
Do you want to chat about the sermon at any point?
See you Sunday. Yeah, we should probably get together.
You're preaching Sunday?
Well, we
Yeah.
have like no
Okay.
time.
Put in
Now I
for
gotta
some
go.
vacation
Now I gotta
time.
go redo the whole thing because Brack says the. He's changing.
It's all wrong.
He's changing the whole
He'll
meaning of
see
the
it
word for
through.
all of history.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
all right.
youth pastors.
You'll see it through.
Any words for us, old wise reverend?
Ice cream has no bones. Think about it.
All right, that's your preacher for
My
Sunday.
brain is stuck. I'm trying to think about it. See you, man. Have fun the rest of your day at work. While Andy and I don't do anything.
Well, we have fun at our work.
Now that Mike's gone, we could really have.
That's all right. He won't listen to it anyways. Does actually? Sometimes he does
Yeah.
listen to the Spotify. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So last week we missed, but the week before that, I forgot to do Spotify until like Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, I saw that.
So anyway,
Well, you were busy. You had a few other things you were doing.
I kind of just forgot about it though. I keep saying like feet and legs walk by the outside the window there. Anyway,
So you doing all right?
good. Yeah.
Doing well?
Yeah. You know what? One of these days we should talk about injuries.
Like our injuries?
Yeah. Just like, I don't know why, bad injuries.
Like
Tell you
injuries we've had?
My ankle was killing me yesterday. Because I was on my feet. I took Tuesday off I took my 4th of July holiday on Tuesday and did like yard work all day. I was out trimming a bunch of bushes and trees and stuff, and just tightened up like by.
Is that like an injury, really, or is that just your body sucks?
No. It was very
Like, what did you do
clearly
to injure
my
it?
ankle.
Yeah, this is a past injury. Though.
Yeah. It's. I don't know. It's just never been. It's never recovered.
Well, I went
Like
like
then
so.
now, sorry,
No,
the
sorry.
planters, what I
Interrupt
thought
me.
was planters fasciitis, I'm thinking might actually be a bone spur now in my heel. And I've been kind of got back and forth because planters have had in the past. You've had is like, it seems like it's more toward the center of the bottom of your foot, like more under the footbed. This is right at the back of the heel, almost where the heel is starting to curve up. And I've had bone spurs before on my heels.
I don't even know what a bone spur is.
It's just like a little piece of calcium or bone or something that starts growing off the end of your bone, and they're fairly common, but it's painful. So, but strangely enough, like all of a sudden, I have this compression sleeve thing on my foot that covers. This one goes up over the ankle too. But you were saying that helped with when you had planters, and I put that on here last 2 days, and then this morning was the least pain I've had in that heel for, I don't know, 3 weeks. So
Cool.
it started the day of the picnic. So when was that? June 6th, the church picnic.
Oh wow.
So it's been a month and a half. It's more than
wow.
3 weeks. Anyway, I don't know why this morning I was like, Mike had a big shoulder operation or something a few years ago, I think, and I don't know. Have you had anything major?
No, I've never broken a bone. Never. I don't believe the superstitions either.
Just joking. Then you're definitely going to break
But I
something.
have been biking for a while.
Oh, there you go.
And
you're gonna go Biden, aren't
no, this is,
you? Do me a favor, just take a selfie on a crosswalk, like laying down on the road.
Well, I woke up Tuesday, and I was gonna have lunch with my mom at noon down in Maple Grove. So I woke up in time to go for a bike ride, but I was like, oh, I just don't feel like going.
Yeah.
So I didn't. And after lunch, I'm like, well, maybe I'll go home and go for a bike ride. But I got home, and I didn't want to.
No.
And it was the day of the All-Star game, and there was a chance that I was going to come up here with you and do the All-Star game. So I just kind of hung out at home. I ended up doing some small workout things for about a half hour at home, which include push-ups, sit-ups, and jumping jacks. I think I did around 200 jumping jacks, but I think it screwed up my knee because as the night went on, and it's weird because it's not like the inside of the knee. It's like right here on the outside, surfacey, like almost like ligaments or.
I'm trying to think of what.
It doesn't hurt to, like the inside of the knee doesn't hurt, but so anyway, that was my excuse to not go biking yesterday or today. But it feels much better today. So I'm thinking I just really
Just tweaked it or something.
just wore it out a
Pop
little
it.
bit too much. I shouldn't have done. Maybe I should have just done 100. Anyway, not an injury.
It's just funny because that's the first time I've ever heard anyone say they got injured doing jumping jacks.
Wow.
It's just funny.
I was thinking, like, how can that hurt me? Because there was nothing else that I did that day that would have done that.
I don't know, man.
Like, just
it
this
doesn't take
jarring
much
effect of
when you get
my
old.
body going up and down, and like just
You're in your 40s now, so
yeah. Sheesh.
it doesn't take much. That's the thing. You could do nothing and wake up and your knee could hurt. Like,
Well, I've been there.
yeah, see, it's
Yeah.
weird.
But it just seems wild because these last few months have been the best I've felt in probably 6, 7, 8 years. And then yesterday, like during staff meeting, our pastor's meeting, and then during the day, I just felt like poop.
Yeah.
It was the worst I've felt in a long time. My knee hurt. I had a little bit of a fever. I actually took one of those COVID tests. I took a COVID test because I wasn't sure. Because I was out at a restaurant on Monday night and Tuesday night, and I was like,
Where'd
wow.
you eat?
Monday night we went to this place out in Northeast for my buddy's birthday. I can't remember the name of it. And then yesterday I went to lunch with my mom at Benihana.
Ooh.
Yeah. There's very few things that she likes to eat these days.
Yeah.
So whenever she picks something out that she likes, it's like, well, let's go there because, no, she'll eat it. And she ate all of it. She actually did eat a lot of.
I haven't been to Benihana's in I don't know how long.
Yeah. At first I was like, well, I don't know if I want to go to Benihana because I'm trying to eat better. And, they fry everything up on the tabletop
They
griddle.
force you to eat it by
And then
throwing
they
it
have
at your
this
mouth.
gigantic, bowl of, they call it yum yum sauce, which is kind of an annoying name. It's, some sort of variation of Thousand Island dressing.
Mhm.
I love it though.
Yeah.
It's so good. But if you dredge everything in that sauce and then everything you eat, it's not good. So we still went. I ate a bunch of sushi, but it's expensive.
Ugh.
Anyway, it was worth it, Mom. I know she watches this too,
Yeah.
so you're worth it. Let's do some.
Benihana, not the place the worst place you've paid for. What was it, Osaka?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was some people in our family. They liked Osaka because they said it's not as expensive as Benihana. There's a reason it's not as good.
It's like McDonald's versus something. Oh, I don't know. Whatever.
Shake Shack.
Have you ever eaten something
Yes, I have.
and good, and like almost immediately feel like I don't feel
That's a
good?
mistake.
Not just like I ate too much or it's junk, but like physically, this is gonna make me sick. My stomach. Because yesterday for lunch, I went out. Steve Willis and I were out grab lunch, and what I ordered, it was a club sandwich, but the turkey was like, I don't know, it was just weird. And then
Where'd you?
I don't want to say it because I love this
Subway?
place and it's a nice
Oh,
community place. the
nice community place. Wow, it sounds like.
No, I didn't get sick. It's not. But I don't know what it was like. Yeah. So for me during our staff meeting, everything, my stomach was kind of getting tight and like, oh man,
Everybody
am I
was
getting-
kind of in a
am I
weird
getting
mood
sick?
yesterday.
Am I gonna get? This is weird. And then it just kind of passed. Nothing.
Yeah.
So whatever.
It was kind of a weird staff meeting.
It was strange.
You had
You
one
and-
person.
You and Doug were complaining about, or you were complaining about a kayak versus a canoe. I don't know if you heard. I said this is the most privileged conversation I've ever heard.
Yeah, no, I heard
Which
that.
one's better to go fishing in? I prefer canoe.
Yeah,
versus
one of us
kayak.
didn't want to be there because they had other things to do.
Yeah,
One of us didn't want to be there. They were wishing somebody would be able to. I don't know.
We all had other things to do. But
Yeah.
We get, yeah.
And then a
So-
couple of them just talk too much.
So news and events.
Yes, thank you. I'm getting canceled, get in trouble. So, all right, here you go, Greg, with the news and events.
I can't think of it. While I'm looking up the news and events, why don't you tell us your Mount Rushmore of TV?
You're right. You're there already. So.
All right. Camping weekend. We need more people to sign up for camping, I
We
believe.
still have open slots.
We have open slots, I think, yeah, for camping. August 18th, that's this coming month, next month.
Just around the
Coming
corner.
Yeah, just around the corner.
Less than a month.
Before the state fair.
Before the state.
Yeah, August 18th to the 21st. You can get a spot. But also that Saturday over the camp out, on the Saturday the 20th at 6 p.m., we got a believer's baptism in Lake Independence. So that's at Baker Park. If you want more info on that, you could go to our news and events page on the website. If you would like to be baptized, please contact the church, contact a pastor, talk to one of us this weekend. Email office@nrf.life, and Tammy will forward that on to one of us, and we'd love to talk to you about that. But yeah, there's unlimited space for people to sign up to be baptized on that day. What else we got? Oh, there's another session of the Kairos course coming up. We should have had Mike talk about that a little bit because Mike went through it. Mike did it last time. But August 22nd through 26th, actually, I think there's a couple weekends there, or a couple different sessions. But anyway, the Kairos course, it's a time commitment. It's intensive. I'm trying to find a time that it will work for me. It seems to be bad times usually, just personally. But everyone I know that's gone through that has really enjoyed it, has gotten a lot out of it, and say it's worth the investment in time. It's like a 9 to 5 type of thing for like 4 or 5 days. But yeah, it's run by, I don't know who's facilitating this one. Matt Hutchcraft has been behind this as far as bringing it to Northridge, but I know there's a few different people that can facilitate. So anyway, there's info on our news and events page for that, but that's coming up later in August. But sign up for that. Should be great. And yeah, there's a few other. I think there's some youth events coming up. Let's see. Why can I?
They just added another one, the Murder Mystery Dinner.
That's right, Murder Mystery Dinner. But I just lost where I was.
You know how to use your computer?
No. Boy, this is riveting. How come I'm in this group? Why do I have to request to join?
I don't know where they have maybe the event's not up on Church Center yet. That could be it.
Okay.
But yeah, check with. It could be under registrations too.
It is.
Okay.
You're right.
So anything that needs payment, you're going to find that easier under registrations versus the calendar. So just for future reference for everybody, we are still learning planning center and church center and all these things. And, if you have any great insights on how you think it would be better organized, we'd value your feedback. Doesn't mean we're going to do it, but especially if you're...
Well, it depends if it's doable.
If it's doable.
There's a lot of things I would like to do, but yeah.
But anyway.
What's interesting is it's not even on registrations.
Yeah, I didn't see it either. But I did see it on Facebook.
Yeah.
That's where I did see it. So if you're watching this right now on our Facebook page, if you're part of the NRF Life group, or if you're part of the youth ministry Facebook page, you should have seen an event for the Murder Mystery Night, which I don't recall what the date is.
Dakota sent an email to the youth group families yesterday.
Okay.
And it was on there. But also, so there's a women's ministry thing Saturday. There's a floral arrangement workshop. That's here in the building from 10 to 12:30.
Tomorrow?
Saturday.
Friday or Saturday?
Saturday. Yeah.
Tomorrow's Friday.
Tomorrow's Friday. So 2 days from now. Yeah. Pam Larson and who else? I think was Linda Krebs.
Diane Rendell?
Diane was manning the table,
Okay.
womaning the table. How do you say that? Was standing by the table a couple weeks ago. But anyway, Pam Larson's the main contact for that. But yeah, the women have a few different events coming. There's a kind of a hangout
Amy Belchek's
night
house?
at the Belchek's. Yeah, that's when is that? The 28th. So next Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, some fun events for women to just get together and connect and that.
Other than that, there's not a whole lot of stuff going on right now.
Not
I mean,
right
there's a handful of things for y'all to get
Things.
do some fun summer relational things.
If you want to get involved with the block, how do you say that word? Block party?
Block.
The block. It was like a W sound coming out first
Bloke.
Talk to Terry Gilsrud if there. I know there's some planning and some organizing and some prepping that she's already got underway.
Or if
for
you know
block
Steph
party.
Uchman, she's kind of coordinated that with Terry because I think Terry's actually going to be, she can be gone.
Yeah, she will be gone on the day of the
Yeah.
block party because her brother's getting married down in southern Minnesota. But
It's a Hawaiian theme.
yeah,
Aloha.
Ohana means family,
Yes.
and family means nobody gets
Left
left
behind.
behind or forgotten.
Yep. That's a quote from.
Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah. Did you look at that graphic?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So we'll have something out relatively soon for promotion for the block party, which is September 10th, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So it should be awesome. Invite anybody you want. It's all free. It's going to be on our parking lot, and that'll kick off the fall. I know I hate talking about fall, but it's
I love the fall.
this guy.
Come on, man.
I don't.
Cooler weather.
Nope.
Football.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
Baseball playoffs.
Yeah.
Turning of the leaves. The
Boring.
colors.
Boring. I like warm weather.
Boring. How about that? Move.
Yeah. No, I mostly just like the warmer weather.
I know.
Like I've had the top and the doors off on my Jeep for a few weeks now. It's great. Yeah.
We haven't had any rain. That's why.
I did get rain on a Tuesday night.
Yeah, a tiny bit.
Well, no, it got poured when I was at the Thor movie.
Really?
Oh, I got
Oh, last week?
a couple weeks.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, we had one night where we did get
Yeah.
some. But it's crazy, that downpour. And the next morning I was out with Scully and out in the field playing, and the ground was like as hard as this table, man. Dry.
Yeah.
Like just
Well, it's because there hasn't been a lot of
the
rain.
ground's thirsty, man. The
Yeah.
ground is thirsty.
Yeah.
We need the rain.
Is the ground thirsty or is the grass thirsty?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah, they're all thirsty. Rogers, we're under water
Restrictions. I saw that.
restrictions, Yeah,
I saw
you can
some
only
posts.
water on like every other day. Even day if you have your address ends in an even number or odd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have my own well, so I can water. I mean, I don't live in Rogers. I'm in Otsego.
Yeah, Otsego is like the Texas of the you just do what
The
you
Texas of what?
want. The area,
The
the
area.
metro.
Okay.
You just do whatever you want. We're Otsego. No? Am I wrong?
I don't know. Says you. I guess.
Okay.
All right. Hope you guys have a nice rest of the week. Hope to see you this weekend,
Yep.
Sunday. And we're going to be continuing our series on Who is God with Mike Stella, talking about Jehovah Jireh. So that should be interesting, especially given what seemed to be very new information for him. So, yeah, if you have any questions or want to chat with us, let us know. Just a reminder, a little bit after this, we'll post things on Spotify and Apple Tunes podcast. And so if you want to, for whatever strange reason, listen to this another time, go download from one of those places. And, have a great day. Say goodbye, Greg.
Goodbye, Greg.